Hello friends, welcome to the channel retailconnect.com. In this session, we will discuss the new concepts in the scope, okay, in ES6. Okay, so what we have new inside the scope concept? So we have a blocked scope variables. What are the blocked scope variables? Basically, let and constant are introduced in ES6 that are called the blocked scope variables. And we will also discuss the blocked scope functions. How can we define or how can we use this blocked scope function? So what were the issues so that this was introduced? First we will discuss the issue, then we will go for the solution. Okay. So issue was that let's suppose we have a variable callbacks, okay, array here. Okay. Then we will store the callbacks array here inside this array. Okay. Callback functions. Okay. So we have a loop here, for loop, where I equal to 0, I is less than equal to, let's suppose 2. Okay, and then we have I plus plus. Then what we will do, we will use the callback with index, and we will have a function here, and this function will return I, that means index, into 2. Okay, so we have a callback functions array. Okay, and it will return the index value into 2. So if we console that one, on the 0th index you will have a function, and if you execute that function you will get 6. Okay, similarly we have 3 times iteration, so we have 0, 1 and 2 index here. Okay, so you can see there is a issue that in all cases this I multiplies by 2 returning 6. That means I is always 3. Okay, so this is the issue with it. Okay, so that is the issue called scope issue. Okay, so I is not taking the its particular scope, it is taking the global scope. Okay, so that means whatever the last value of this iteration I plus plus, okay, that is 3, and it takes that 3 always when you call this one. Okay, so this was the issue. So that to overcome that issue we have introduced blocked scope variables that is called let or constant. So here what we will do, we will change this var with let. So now you can see we have the exact output whatever the output is we will want. Okay, so this is the desired output. We can't do with constant because I have to be repeatedly changed, so constant will throw error. Okay, but constant also works in a blocked scope, it doesn't update. Okay, so that's one, we have to use the let. So if you use the let, then let will have its own scope inside this block. Okay, inside this block, and you will get whatever the desired output is this. Now the issue, now how can, if it was where earlier, then how can achieve that if there was no let and constant? Meant before ES6 how can we achieve that one, 0 to 4? Okay, like that. So for that we earlier do like this, we create the scope like this. Okay, and we create the scope like this. Okay, closure scope. Okay, and then we have I here inside this scope, and this scope remains internally scoped. Okay, so that was the solution, one solution that we use, okay, to overcome that issue earlier before the ES6 let. Okay, before the let we used to do like this if there was no let. Okay, so this creates your blocked scope, and if you pass I, then I will store inside this one in this scope. Okay, so whenever you will call, you will get the value stored in that scope. Okay, so this was the example of blocked scope variables. Now we come for the blocked scope functions. So let's suppose we have a function here. Okay, that return 1. Let's suppose. Okay, then name like t1. Okay, there is a function which return this one. Okay, now if you call this function, you will get 1. Okay, similarly, if you have another function here called 2, and then if you will call it, you will get 2 in both cases. Okay, that means this is not inside your scope. Okay, if you change it, it also change this their scope as well. Okay, to overcome that one, what we can do in before earlier means okay. So if you have a scope here, okay. So you can see here we have the scoped function here. Okay, so if you define like this, then you have your scope here. So in ES6 version, we have blocked scope. So how can you create a blocked scope? So basically, you don't have to now write that. Simply, you have to use your curly braces to create a new scope. Okay, so that here as well, you can create your new scope simply by curly braces. Okay, and same, this will give you the same result. If you console log here, you will get 1. Okay, that means the function defined inside this scope of this curly braces will have separate scope, and if you define the same name, no matters, okay, it will not override with you first one. If you will delete this one, then you will get 2 2, okay, in all cases. And you will also get the issue identified T1 has already been declared. Okay, so this was the issue. So called this was called the blocked scope. Okay, if you define like this curly braces. Okay, thank you for watching this session. We will discuss more topics on ES6 features. Okay, on JavaScript. Stay tuned and subscribe our channel, like our video. Okay, thank you for watching.